What if everything you see, everything you touch, everything you love exists only inside your mind? Let that sink in. The smile of someone you care about, the sound of rain against your window, the warmth of the sun on your skin. What if all of it is nothing more than a dream your mind refuses to wake up from? We live every day as if the world is solid, undeniable, real. You open your eyes in the morning and assume the room around you has been waiting there all along. You walk down the street believing the people you pass are as real as you are. You don't question it, because if you did, everything would begin to crack. Here's the disturbing truth. You have never experienced the world itself, not once. You've only ever experienced your mind's version of it. Colors, they're not out there. They exist only in your brain. Sounds, just vibrations, interpreted inside your skull. Even pain, even love, even time itself. They don't exist until your mind translates them into experience. So how do you know the world is even there when you close your eyes? How do you know the people you love aren't just shadows flickering in a theater your mind has built? How do you know anything exists besides you? This is the terrifying possibility of solipsism, that the universe, with all its beauty and suffering, with all its history and future, is nothing but a story playing behind your eyes. And if that's true, then who are you really? The dreamer or the dream itself? What if philosophy wasn't safe? What if a single idea could bend the ground beneath your feet, blur the edges of reality, and whisper, "Nothing exists but your own mind"? This is solipsism. Not a classroom debate, not a harmless puzzle, but a dangerous question that refuses to go away. Because once it enters your thoughts, it spreads like a shadow. It asks, are the people you love truly real? Or are they just projections of your imagination? It asks, if the world is only in your head, what happens when you close your eyes? Most people turn away. They bury the thought under distractions, under the comfort of routine. But solipsism lingers. It waits. Because deep down, you know this isn't just philosophy. It's an existential threat. If the world exists only in your mind, then what is truth? What is meaning? What is love? And more terrifying still, if it's only you, are you prepared to face the silence of being utterly alone? Look around you. The room, the objects, the light touching your skin. It all feels solid, undeniable. But what if I told you it's not the world you're experiencing? It's only your mind's version of it. Every color you see isn't out there. It's your brain translating light waves. Every sound you hear isn't a voice. It's vibrations, reconstructed inside your head. Even the sense of touch, the pressure of the ground beneath your feet, is nothing more than signals rushing through your nervous system, turned into the illusion of solidity. This means you have never touched the world directly. You've never seen it as it truly is. You've only seen your brain's painting of it. A painting so convincing that you forget it's an interpretation, not reality itself. And once you see the cracks in that painting, the question becomes unavoidable. If everything you know is filtered, reconstructed, and sometimes even deceived, then how much of reality is real, and how much is just your mind's fragile dream? If your senses can mislead you, what about your memory? Think about it. Memory is not a recording. It bends, it fades, it rewrites itself every time you recall it. That moment you swear happened exactly as you remember could be nothing more than a story your mind keeps retelling until you believe it. And what about time? We treat it as a steady river, flowing forward. But to a dreaming mind, hours can feel like minutes. In a nightmare, a second can stretch into eternity. If time itself is so easily distorted, why are you so sure it's real at all? Your eyes, your ears, your memories, your very sense of time, the foundation you stand on, are not solid ground. They are shifting sand. So if you cannot fully trust your senses, cannot trust your memory, cannot trust the clock on the wall, what is left to anchor you? Maybe nothing. Maybe the world you cling to is less certain than you've ever dared to admit. Everything you know about reality passes through a single, fragile filter: your mind. The colors you see, the sounds you hear, even the people you love. None of it reaches you directly. It's all translated, processed, reconstructed inside your head. You don't see the world. You see your brain's interpretation of light. You don't hear reality. You hear vibrations reshaped into meaning by your mind. Even pain, even joy, they're not out there. They're in here. And that means the world you think is solid, fixed, undeniable, might be nothing more than an echo, a shadow cast on the walls of your consciousness. If the mind is the filter, what happens if the filter cracks? What if the translation is flawed? What if there is no outside at all, only the theater of perception your brain never stops projecting? The terrifying possibility is this: reality itself may not be out there. It may only ever exist within you. There is doubt. And then there is absolute doubt. Most of us are familiar with ordinary skepticism. We question the news. We question authority. We even question our own decisions. But all of this still assumes one thing: that the world is real, that other people exist, that there is something outside of us to question at all. Solipsism doesn't give you that comfort. It whispers something darker. What if nothing exists outside your own mind? Not just the stories on the screen, not just the politics or the media. No. Solipsism asks you to doubt the very existence of your closest friend, the ground beneath your feet, the sky above your head. It suggests that everything you have ever known, from the laughter of a child to the taste of water to the very stars in the night sky, may be nothing more than creations of your own consciousness. Think about it. Every conversation, every memory, every touch, you never encounter them directly. They are filtered, constructed, and delivered by your mind. How can you be sure that anything outside of your own awareness is real? How can you prove that the world you move through isn't just a dream your consciousness refuses to wake from? That is the abyss of solipsism. It doesn't stop at doubting facts. It cuts deeper. It denies the very stage on which all facts and lives and histories are supposed to unfold. And here is the most unsettling part. There is no way to escape the question. Any attempt you make to prove the world exists must still pass through your mind. Every experiment, every argument, every piece of evidence, all of it lives within the very consciousness that solipsism calls into question. So while normal skepticism leaves the world intact, solipsism burns it down to ashes. It leaves you alone in the ruins, staring into the possibility that maybe, just maybe, the entire universe exists only because you are aware of it. This is not just doubt. This is the absolute doubt. If solipsism is true, then the first thing to collapse is the other. Think about it. The people you love, the voices you hear, even the memories of your childhood friends, they all exist only inside your mind. Your parents, your partner, the strangers you pass on the street. What if none of them were real? What if they were nothing more than shadows cast by your consciousness, like characters in a dream that vanishes the moment you wake up? And it doesn't stop with people. History itself begins to crumble. The stories of ancient civilizations, the wars, the revolutions, the entire timeline of human existence. Could it all be nothing but a script written by your own imagination? Even this very moment, this video you're listening to right now. How can you be sure it isn't just another echo inside your head? A thought masquerading as an outside voice? The unsettling truth is this: if solipsism is real, you are not only alone in the world, you are the world. Everything outside you is nothing more than a projection, an illusion stitched together by your mind. And here's the haunting part: you would never know. Because the same mind that might be inventing reality is also the one trying to question it. You are judge, witness, and prisoner all at once. So the collapse of the other is not just the loss of people. It is the loss of every anchor that tells you reality is shared. It leaves you stranded in a universe where nothing is certain except yourself. If no one else truly exists, then who are you talking to when you pray? Is it really a God listening? Or just your own voice echoing inside your mind, disguised as something higher? When you whisper, "I love you," who are you loving? Is there really a person on the other side? Or only a reflection you've created to soothe the ache of loneliness? And when you argue, when you rage, when you pour your heart out in desperation, are you speaking to someone real? Or are you trapped in an endless conversation with yourself? This is the cruelty of solipsism. It takes the most sacred parts of human life, faith, love, connection, and casts a shadow of doubt over all of them. Because if no one else exists, then every prayer is unanswered, every embrace is hollow, every fight is nothing but a storm within your own mind. So ask yourself, if every voice you hear is only your own, then who are you really speaking to? At first, solipsism feels strangely comforting. If everything exists only in your mind, then you are not just part of the universe, you are the universe. Every tree, every star, every person, all of it bends around you. You are the center, the master, the one mind behind it all. It's tempting, isn't it? No one can betray you because they are nothing but shadows of your own thoughts. No one can judge you because their voices are only echoes you've created. You hold the script, you hold the stage, you hold the entire theater of reality. But then, the comfort begins to rot. Because if everything is only you, then who do you celebrate with? Who do you suffer with? Who is there to touch, to listen, to love? The thought turns cold. Your world, once full of faces and voices, shrinks into silence. The same idea that made you a god now leaves you stranded, utterly, eternally alone. This is the double edge of solipsism. At first, it crowns you with infinite power, but soon it strips you bare, reminding you that a kingdom of one is not a kingdom at all. It's a prison. Solipsism is not just a late-night thought experiment. For centuries, the greatest minds in philosophy have wrestled with it, and none have been able to fully defeat it. Take Descartes. He tried to strip reality down to its foundations. He doubted his senses, doubted the world, doubted everything, until he reached one solid point. I think, therefore I am. But notice what that really means. He could only prove the existence of his own mind, not the world outside it. Then came George Berkeley. He argued that matter itself might not exist at all, that everything you see is only ideas in the mind, sustained by something greater. To him, the table, the tree, even your own body are not physical objects, but experiences flowing through consciousness. And yet, centuries later, the struggle continues. Philosophers, scientists, even neuroscientists have tried to pin reality down, to prove once and for all that there is a world beyond our thoughts. But every argument circles back to the same haunting silence. We can never step outside our own minds to check. That is the maddening power of solipsism. It is neither fully accepted nor fully disproven. It lingers, a shadow in philosophy, a question that refuses to die. Because if the mind is the only thing we can ever be certain of, then maybe, just maybe, everything else is nothing more than a dream. Solipsism has been called the black hole of philosophy, and for good reason. Once you get close, it pulls you in. At first, it feels like a harmless thought experiment. What if reality is just in my head? But the deeper you go, the harder it becomes to climb back out. Every question you ask seems to lead to another. How do I know the people around me are real? How do I know the world existed before I opened my eyes this morning? How do I know anything at all? The terrifying part is that there are no solid answers. You can't step outside your own mind to test reality. You can only circle endlessly within it, caught in its gravity. And that's why philosophers fear solipsism. Not because it has been disproven, but because it hasn't. It stands like a void, daring anyone who looks too closely to lose themselves inside it. Once you fall into that black hole, you realize maybe the most dangerous question isn't whether the world exists, but whether you can ever escape the thought that it doesn't. What happens if someone truly believes the world exists only in their mind? At first, it might feel powerful, like being the creator of everything. Every sound, every face, every star in the sky would be yours. But very quickly, that power begins to rot. Because if no one else is real, then who do you love? Who do you trust? Every smile becomes a mask, every voice an echo you've thrown into the void. Family, friends, even strangers on the street, all of them collapse into shadows of your own mind. The weight of that thought is crushing. It leaves you trapped in a universe with no witnesses, no equals, no companions. Imagine living every moment knowing that the laughter of a child, the touch of a hand, or the warmth of another's presence might be nothing but a trick of your own imagination. It's not liberation. It's isolation of the most complete kind. A loneliness so vast, it swallows even the idea of escape. And that's the psychological weight of solipsism. The unbearable suspicion that maybe, just maybe, you are the only prisoner, locked inside a world built entirely from your own mind. If the world exists only in your mind, then meaning begins to erode. What is purpose when every goal, every victory, every loss is nothing more than a story you tell yourself? Success and failure lose their weight, because the game itself might not even be real. And morality? It collapses. If no one else exists, then what is kindness? What is cruelty? Who is there to suffer or to celebrate or to judge? Right and wrong fade into illusions, like rules in a dream that vanish when you wake up. What remains is the unbearable isolation of absolute doubt. A silence that stretches across every thought, whispering, you are alone, alone in your love, alone in your grief, alone even in your search for truth. This is the hidden terror of solipsism, not just the suspicion that the world is fake, but the sinking realization that if it is, then so is every meaning you've ever clung to. And in that void, you begin to see how fragile and how necessary the idea of others truly is. Here lies the cruel paradox at the heart of solipsism. It cannot be disproven. No philosopher, no scientist, no test has ever been able to escape the trap completely. Every proof of the outside world still comes through the mind, and the mind itself could be the deceiver. And yet, to live as if solipsism were true is to strip existence of all meaning. If nothing exists but you, then love is an echo, morality is a trick of your imagination, and history is nothing but a dream you keep telling yourself. You become the only actor on a stage with no audience, performing for no one. The hidden answer is this: solipsism is unbreakable in thought, but unbearable in life. It reminds us of the terrifying fragility of reality. But it also shows us why we must live as if the world is real. Because without others, without connection, existence collapses into a hollow void. Solipsism whispers the ultimate doubt. But in resisting it, in choosing to treat the world as real, we may find the only way to survive the weight of our own consciousness. What if the mistake isn't in asking whether the world is real or imagined, but in assuming it must be one or the other? Maybe the world is not a separate object sitting out there waiting to be proven. And maybe the mind is not just a lonely bubble, trapped inside its own illusions. What if reality is the meeting point? A dance between perception and what is perceived, inseparably woven together. Think about it. Colors do not exist in the world until your eyes translate wavelengths into light. Sounds are only vibrations until your mind turns them into music or words. Even the warmth of the sun, the taste of food, the embrace of someone you love, all of these require both the world and your awareness. Without one, the other disappears. This doesn't dissolve reality into a dream, nor does it reduce the mind to a mere machine. It suggests something far stranger, that the world and consciousness are two sides of the same coin. To speak of one without the other is like trying to imagine a front without a back, or a shadow without light. Perhaps solipsism was never meant to be answered, but to reveal this hidden truth. The world is real, yes, but only through you. Not to hand out easy answers, but to face the hardest questions without flinching, to step into the shadows of doubt and see what remains when the ground beneath your certainty cracks.